Hey, what's going on, scholars? It's your professor here, Enlightened Enlisted, and have you ever wondered on how to use your motorcycle squads in Tunisia, and what other motorcycles we will most likely see in game later? Well, you're about to find out. If you guys like watching Enlisted gameplay, you can catch me live on Twitch. I am streaming every Wednesday and Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Link to that channel down below in the description. But enough of that stuff, let's get into this guide. Now, if you purchase the CBT access to Tunisia, you now have access to 2 motorcycle premium squads, and the devs are currently trying to decide whether that's going to take up a vehicle slot or just a regular unit call-in. There are a lot of people that are saying that these squads aren't worth it and they are just a gimmick. I fully disagree with that statement. I think they are very effective if you know how to use them correctly. Now, I will fully admit that the motorcycle squads are kind of a glass cannon, and what I mean by that is you have 3 members of that squad and they are going to be revolving around this motorcycle with a machine gun on it. Now, for the allies, you're going to have the Bren machine gun, and for the Axis, you're going to have that MG34. Now, all of your troops are going to have SMGs, and one of those troopers is actually going to be an engineer who sits in position number 3. Now, the SMGs for the allies is the Great Thompson M1A1, and then the Germans, or Axis if you will, get the MP40, which is a little bit of a slower rate of fire. So that balances out those squads between the two. The Axis have a better machine gun, while the allies have better SMGs. With those differences between the two squads, they're going to play a little bit different. Historically, the Germans use the KS-750 more as a reconnaissance in force mission. What that means is they would use to scout roads for the Panzer or mechanized force while being able to sustain a little bit of combat. This is how I recommend you use this motorcycle squad. You need to be able to hit the flanks, find a choke point that you can delay an infantry's advance, and then do hit and run tactics. This is not meant to be a frontline fighter. I rarely recommend that you actually leave the motorcycle with the squad. Now, the Allies historically didn't really use motorcycles as a reconnaissance or even a fighting force. They were more delegated to like courier statuses, but in game, you're going to do the exact opposite of what you do with the German or Axis side motorcycle squad. And what I mean by that is you are actually going to be going on the flanks. You're going to be very aggressive with this squad on the flanks. I find myself getting out of the motorcycle quite frequently and placing down a rally point or using my Thompsons to push an objective. Now, if you notice some similarities between both of those squads, I said you need to use these on the flanks. You should not be barreling in at the front lines. You need to be going on the flanks with these. That is how these motorcycles are to be used. Now, a lot of people are talking about how they have a hard time driving these things, and I'm going to go over how you can be a little bit more effective and get your Mad Max on. For starters, right when you spawn in, you want to go to position number 3. Now, remember, that is the engineering spot. Now, you won't be able to use your machine gun, but you can drive to as close to a third-person view as possible. It makes it a lot easier to be able to navigate through all these alleyways in Tunisia. Now, when you get close to making enemy contact, you want to switch to position number 2. This will allow you to shoot your machine gun, but will also be a lot easier for you to drive. Now, when you are stagnant, I recommend you go to position number 1, which is the gunner view. The only time I don't recommend this is if you are playing the Allies, because the Bren's top-feeding magazine blocks a lot of your right-looking view. What I usually do is I go into that one view, I check to see how my left and right lateral limits are, that's my cone of fire, and then I switch back to that position number 2. Remember, the faster you are going, the more maneuverable you are on your motorcycle. However, you do not want to hold the A or the D key in order to make those turns. You just want to tap them. The benefit of going super fast as well is you are harder to hit. Now, when you are coming to a stop, do not hold the S key, as it will turn you either left or right, because that is the reverse key. Just allow yourself to come to a rolling stop. When parking this motorcycle in a stop, be sure to try to get the actual motorcycle part behind cover with the sidecar actually outside of it. This will allow you to protect that motorcycle while shooting from cover. Should you find yourself parked on an incline, if you take your hand off the keyboard, you will actually roll backwards or forward depending on the incline. This is super useful for a hill, as you can hide on the reverse slope, drive up to the top, fire, and then allow yourself to slowly roll backwards. Another pro tip is if you come across a trench, you can actually just speed up and jump over those things, so don't get as worried as you would with like a tank. Personally, I see a lot of changes coming to motorcycles, as I think they have a lot of potential exploits. One of the things I would like to see changed is I don't think any trooper should be allowed to get on a motorcycle and drive it. I think that should be just reserved for the motorcycle crew or tankers. Now, one thing I would like to see a buff for is the engineering motorcycle guy. I think he should be allowed to build AT guns, because I think that would add a lot to the gameplay of you going on these flanks, building an AT gun, and then holding those strategic roads. But what do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments below. Lastly, I want to talk about some of the potential motorcycles we could be seeing coming up in other campaigns, or maybe even this one. During the Tunisia trailer, we saw a completely different motorcycle for the Allies. We also see in this picture here that this motorcycle has the M1919 30 caliber machine gun. So I think it's safe to say that we will be seeing more motorcycles in the future, specifically an American one. So what do you guys think about Tunisia, and are you playing the Axis or Allies? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time, scholars, hit those books and hit those bottles. Cheers.